they are venomous, and then something like a millipede or some of the tubers or a, what is that plant called? A poison apple is poisonous. Now, toxic to me personally, from a vocabulary point of view, toxic to me means the same thing as poisonous. I definitely wouldn't describe a snake as toxic. I'm going to stop here for 1 second. There's a bird that's calling, and I just want to get a sense of just how far into Torchwood, our eastern property, neighboring property it is. Oh, it would stop calling as I stopped. It's a red-crested korhaan. Promise you it was calling. Oh well. Promise you, there was definitely a bird calling that is not that hornbill that's screeching behind us. It was definitely a red-crested korhaan calling. We have a question coming through from the lovely ladies in Final Control, and in fact our director for this afternoon, Louise. Now, Louise has raised a very good question. She said, why are certain snakes equipped with such incredibly potent venom when their prey is generally something so small? Why do they need to be equipped with venom that is capable of, for example, killing a human being, or easily, for that matter, a wildebeest, or quite possibly even, if the possibility is maybe even an elephant in that respect? Maybe an aardvark like the one that James found. And that's a really, really good question. And I'm going to come up with a possible number of theories. The first is that it then acts as an intimidation factor as well as a hunting technique. So, for example, a lot of people are terrified of snakes, and therefore they stay away from them and don't harass them. I'm not sure how that works that well in practice, though, because a lot of people are terrified of snakes out here and therefore kill them, which is definitely not the result that we want. What was the other theory that I was thinking about? The other thing is that different animals react differently to venom. So, for example, and it's the same way that different animals react to different tranquilizing drugs. Now, it's something I learned about when I was chatting to one of the vets that we regularly worked with back at my job before this. We talk about the way in which M99, which is the tranquilizer used for the larger pachyderms, buffalo, elephants, rhino, anything like that. Now, that stuff is absolutely lethal to people. I know a couple of people who've been pricked by those darts accidentally once the dart has gone in, and there's almost immediately an instantaneous panic around them in order to get them to hospital as quickly as possible, because even a drop like that can be fatal to a human being. But, for example, an inyala, for some bizarre reason, needs almost, not quite, just over half of a dose an elephant needs, which if you compare its body weight, an inyala of 60 odd, let's maybe say for a male, 100 odd kilograms, 200 plus pounds, compared to a 5-ton elephant or a 10,000 pound elephant, animals react to different proteins differently. It's why certain animals are able to eat plants or eat insects that are toxic to other species. The civet, for example, is quite capable of chomping down on a millipede, but it would kill us. So that is a possible suggestion that I have to offer as to why the venom seems so powerful in some of those snakes. Maybe it's because certain species don't react as strongly as we do to them. That being said, I'm not sure how accurate that is, because we know that when a black mamba bites a rodent, that rodent is dead almost immediately. Maybe it's because they're targeting different types of prey that they need to incapacitate really quickly. I'm always fascinated by boomslangs. A boomslang's venom is one of the slowest acting. Drop for drop, a boomslang is the most venomous snake out here. Its venom is the most potent, even compared to that of a black mamba. but you've got about 48 hours in which to act. And it's hemotoxic, it's not neurotoxic. Why do certain snakes have, most active hunters are neurotoxic snakes. So black mambas, cobras, snakes that seek out their food and need to incapacitate them quickly because their prey might run away. Now, ambush snakes, like a puff adder, with very potent cytotoxic venom, they will bite their prey and then let it scurry off if they aren't managed to hold on to it, and then slowly track it down by a combination mainly of scent and the scent particles that they pick up on their tongue. And then you've got the complete opposite approach, which is grab it and hold on and constrict it. Pythons, mole snakes, snakes with fixed fangs and fixed teeth and no fangs. The answer to Louise's question is I honestly don't know. I'm throwing some theories out there. Snake venom at the end of the day is just protein, no matter what type it is, whether it's hemotoxic, neurotoxic, or cytotoxic. It is just protein that ultimately will be broken down by the body, which is why for us, as soon as you get bitten by a snake, you're rushed off to hospital. If it's the absolute worst case scenario and it's a black mamba, as soon as you're on artificial breathing, your body will act to break down. And that's why doctors are moving further and further away from, or trying to avoid as much as possible, using the antivenom that has been in favor over the last few decades, because it is actually more dangerous at times than the venom itself. It's extracted from horses, and you end up going into anaphylactic shock as a result. Most people react very, very badly to it. Just an interesting discussion about the different types of snake venom. Cobras are mostly neurotoxic, but spitting cobras are mostly cytotoxic with a bit of neurotoxin thrown into it. And there we go, just an answer to our question about what animal might be considered both poisonous and venomous. Jeffrey suggested a blowfish. Thank you, Jeffrey. That sounds to me like it absolutely might be the case. My marine biology doesn't allow me to say that it absolutely is, but I think you're right, Jeffrey. That sounds right to me. Just listening to the squirrel. But I think it was just a squirrel chatting to another squirrel. Thank you very much, Louis the Lion. Louis the Lion has said that it's okay if we have a picnic and leave you guys to listen to nature whilst we munch away on our hamburgers. And Louis the Lion has said that he can hear Viam's stomach rumbling from here. Are you hungry, Viam? I'm looking at them now. I'm looking at them and just thinking, it just looks so delectable. Can you smell them, Viam? So beautifully wrapped in tin foil. Okay, there you go, Viam. That one might be yours. It may or may not be yours. One of them's got an actual tomato on it. I don't know how you feel about actual tomato. And one of them's got a bit of cheese on. One's got cheese and actual tomato. Going the healthy route for our lunch. Whilst I really do appreciate the go-ahead for our picnic, I think perhaps we better get across to Arathusa before it gets too dark and find out exactly what the surprise is that Brent has been planning, particularly if he doesn't have signal. I'm not sure exactly whereabouts on Arathusa he is at the moment. Just bearing in mind, of course, that only one of us can go on Arathusa at any one time. At the moment, we're still fairly far away. We're on Cheetah Cut Line. We're not going slowly, but it's still going to take us at least another 15 minutes to get across to the Arathusa side. And once I'm there, I'll be able to find out exactly where the sighting is. That's why I'm also not stopping too often. That and the fact that there's not much in the way of mammal life out here, although there's always something to be found if you look closely enough. But I'm not stopping for now. We're going to go relatively quickly. I of another snake. So I thought about the berg adder. Most adders are cytotoxic. A berg adder's got neurotoxic venom thrown in there as well. Maybe because it hunts on or ambushes on rock crevices, so it's not as easy to go looking for its prey afterwards. Bethany's come up with another possible solution. She's asked, how long does it take a snake to replenish their venom? And at what point does it get to maybe that's because their venom is so toxic because it takes them quite a while to replenish. And the answer is from what I understand, venom is quite, the production of venom is actually quite an energy-intensive operation for the snake, which is why you very often, particularly with adult full-grown snakes, you get what are known as dry bites. Now, Bethany, I can't give you an exact amount or an exact number of days, hours, minutes for a snake, and I imagine it's different between each snake. I also imagine that they will replenish almost constantly. So if they have bitten something, they'll start replenishing a stock that isn't completely empty. So they probably never run completely dry. But I think that it is quite an energy-intensive process because you get, as I said, you get things known as dry bites, which is where somebody's bitten by a snake, but it turns out that the snake hasn't actually injected any venom into them because they don't want to waste them. So it is more of a threat and a warning than anything else. And that is far more common in snakes that are older and more mature than it is in baby snakes. Very often baby snakes don't have complete control over their venom glands, so they tend to, when they bite, they tend to inject more venom than an adult snake, which is why baby black mambas, baby cobras are definitely not to be taken sort of lightly just because they look tiny. They are equally, if not more so, dangerous than the adults. Apparently, according to Gary and Jenny, the tiger needleback snake is both toxic or both poisonous and venomous at the same time. Thank you for that. There's all kinds of species that outside of Africa I don't know anything about. It's nice to know, or it's interesting to know, that there are different species that are both of those things. I'm just going to slow down here a little bit. Karula was denning here. She isn't anymore, but I'm going to go slower nevertheless, just in case. This is the stormwater drain that she was resting in. She had her cubs in the drain to the right of us. Sorry, yes. She was in here. You can see why this morning I discussed it and said it was quite an interesting decision on her part. She obviously has her reasons. I'm not sure what they were. She has since moved further south away from here.
Lion tracks.
Pardon? Lion tracks?
Lion there, yeah.
Going that way? Oh, okay, this is exactly where they found them this afternoon. Well spotted, Vim. Vim spotting lion tracks for us. This is the lions I think that they found this morning on Chitwa. The Styx females are also further to the west of us, closer to Arathusa. I'm just going to go through this dip. It should be absolutely fine, but I'm going to be silent as we go through it. More lion tracks. Hold on 1 second. Final control, you might want to stay very quiet for now because you're about to come through over the entire broadcast. My water bottle just unplugged your closed communications. So everybody stand by. Have a look at these Impala whilst I replug final control in, unless they'd like to share all of the questions that are coming through with all of the viewers. Hi guys. Hi. Cheers, guys. Oh, goodness gracious. This is a bit tricky. Hold on, everybody. There we go. Sorted. Okay. Phew. Hugged back in. Let the other vehicle go past. In fact, that all timed itself perfectly. Wolf kissed chick, just to finish off our grunting away. The rut is starting. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. Those hormones building up in the males, causing them to make that very strange grunting sound that male just made. Alrighty. Continue onwards. I think that since Brent has built up the surprise of this particular sighting, I do think that we should try and make our way across in that direction. See if we can't keep it a surprise as well. And as soon as Brent comes through onto Djuma, then I'll be able to contact him on the Game Drive channel and find out exactly where I need to go. In the meantime, Wolf Kissed Chick was wondering about snakes and our discussion about venom. How do snakes produce it? It's quite a complex. So the way in which the different venoms work, they're proteins. Now proteins work by having a very specific shape that is locked in place. Now you're stretching my memory of my biology lessons now in the ways in which those covalent bonds are strengthened within the venom itself. Just trying to remember, as I said, they are proteins, so there's plenty of nitrates that go into that production, and it's produced in the cells of the venom glands themselves. So there's a special venom gland that then has a venom duct that leads through into the fangs, and those cells are the ones that produce it with a combination of, try and remember exactly how it works. I think it's produced within the Golgi body of the cells, if we want to go really deep into the biology of cell anatomy. But essentially they create the proteins, the very special structure, the code for which is programmed into their DNA, which is then transmitted on little slivers of RNA. So the parts of DNA that then translate into our phenotype, so the way in which the physical or practical appearance of whatever gene code is there is transmitted by the mRNA. They go out into the cell, and the different, I mean, I'm really going into complex detail here, but I don't know how else to explain it. I'm sure there's an easier way. So the mRNA has little shapes on it known as the bases. The different bases correspond to different things. So loose bases within the cell, whether they be thymine, adenine, guanine, cytosine, they will attach to that mRNA in a special order, and they will carry little molecules that will then combine into the snake's protein venoms, which will then be released into the venom gland itself. So a little bit of a complex definition, and one that might be easier to explain with diagrams that unfortunately I definitely don't have in my book box. There's something in the road. There's a zebra in the road, that's what it is. I got quite excited there for a moment. I thought it might be VM's lions, but as zebra is nevertheless equally exciting since we haven't seen them in quite a while. Squirrel making a noise. I think I'm going to stick. VM's picked up on a squirrel alarm calling. I'm going to get a bit closer to the zebra and then stop and listen. Hello, little one, in the middle of the road. Beautiful young foal. Wandering up over the termite mound. There's not much more picturesque than a zebra in this very pretty afternoon light. I'll reposition slightly so that we don't have... Oh, that's okay. We're okay with that. I know my antenna's a bit in shot. Beautiful. A crisscross of stripes in the African sunset. Looks like both females. In fact, the female on the right looks like that heavily pregnant one we've been seeing around quarantine. I don't know for certain that it's her, but you can see the difference between the female on the left and the female on the right in terms of where their bellies are sitting. And you can just, it's very obvious that this female zebra is going to be having her foal relatively soon. That looks distinctly uncomfortable. Not sure if that's my imagination, but I can almost see movement there. James, of course, had that incredible opportunity to witness a live zebra foal birth, which I think must be one of the most incredible experiences. Taking a moment to enjoy the scene in front of us. Good luck, girl, with your very pregnant belly. Now, if I didn't see that she were pregnant, I would know it was a female by looking at the stripe between, she's turned slightly in the wrong direction, but the stripe underneath the tail, it's a zebra crossing, haha. Actually, I'm not sure that joke translates all that well. I'm not sure if a zebra crossing is a solely South African term for a pedestrian crossing. Is it? Is zebra crossing something that is used outside of South Africa, or have I fallen into the trap of using a South Africanism that actually doesn't apply anywhere else in the world? I'm a bit nervous now. I'm not entirely sure. I've never thought about that before. Now, of course, as soon as we see zebra, we think of them as stripy ponies. And I know that we often refer to them as stripy horses or stripy ponies. And Steve was wondering, on that note, has anyone ever successfully crossed a horse with a zebra? And Steve, the answer is no. They are such separately distinct species that unlike the horse and donkey, they cannot interbreed and produce offspring. They're very, very separate from each other. For the longest time, there was a belief that the quagga, the now extinct quagga, Q-A-G-G-A, for those of you a bit confused by what I'm saying, quagga. A quagga looked like a half zebra, half horse. And people for the longest time believed that that was the case, that this was some species that had come to be from a combination of horse breeding with a zebra. Hello, Zebby. And what it's turned out recently with recent research into the genetics of quaggas is that they were a variant of the zebra that we're looking at now. It is a subspecies of a plain zebra that became geographically isolated. And we do occasionally see our plain zebra with a serious lack of stripes. This gentleman has bold, thick black stripes, and it's hard to imagine that he might ever lack them. But the quagga, in fact, comes from a type of plain zebra that actually sort of became geographically isolated and bred from there until it became a distinct subspecies. Fascinatingly enough, it's something that scientists are actually trying to bring back in the future. It's a very selective breeding program in the Cape to try and return the quagga to its natural numbers. They've got to the point where they've managed to breed out the stripes on the back half of the animal. They haven't quite got the brown color yet. It's an interesting project. We were responsible for their extinction. It'll be interesting to know if it's our job to then bring them back and where the line should be drawn in that respect. None of it's done through genetic modification. It's done purely through artificial selection and breeding purposes, just in the same way we've shaped the different breeds of dogs over tens of thousands of years. And in a wonderful update for you all is that Brent has managed to relocate some signal once again. Let's find out what he has to tell you. Or not. Still with the zebra. Liam and I didn't move, to be completely honest. We weren't entirely confident that we were going to be off air for much longer than we were. So we stayed with the zebra for now. I'm just going to try and get hold of Brent on the Game Drive channel. I just want to find out if he's back on Djuma. I'm very glad that the term zebra crossing is universal and not a South Africanism. I just had that horrible moment because I've been caught out before with saying something, and of course our most famous one is calling traffic lights robots. In South Africa, you stop at a robot. When the robot is red, you stop, and when the robot is green, you go. Nowhere else in the world calls them robots, and you get met with some very blank stares if you talk about robots. People starting to think that South Africa might be a bit more technologically advanced than it actually is. I'm going to carry on towards Arathusa. Bye-bye, zebra. Thank you. Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry, Pinky Swear. I think I've confused you completely here. Pinky Swear, when I was talking about the stripe between the cheeks of the zebra bottom, I got completely distracted and didn't finish what I was talking about. It's not that I can tell if it says that the zebra is pregnant. It's the fact that I can tell if it is male or female, which isn't always terribly easy with zebra. So if it is a thin stripe, as it is with this particular individual, then it is a male. If it is a fat black stripe between the cheeks of the bottom, then it is a female. And it is surprisingly difficult. The pregnancy is just by looking at how big the stomach was. That was the only way that I could tell that she was pregnant. But it's not always immediately apparent whether you are looking at a male or a female zebra. Sorry, Pinky Swear, I definitely didn't explain that terribly well. And dare we try? It seems as though Brent has an amazing view of the sunset and some signal. Let's try and combine both and have a look from his vehicle.
So, hopefully, we don't disappear. I am not moving. I am completely stationary, and we have a splendid view of the sun, or the sunset. The sun has disappeared behind the Drakensberg Mountains, and it's just throwing some light through that large storm. Isn't that absolutely exquisite? So I'm very scared to move, but we will try. We have tried to get some high ground. And just... So let's have one last look at this beautiful, beautiful sunset. And as we come wide, you'll see the sun's still throwing some light above that storm, and there's almost a wisp on those cirrus clouds up there. Sorry, stratus clouds. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. So there's quite a lot of big storms around us. You can see some over there, and really, really all around us. So maybe we will get some more rain during the night. And of course, one of the wonderful things you get to see out in the African bush, and it's going to be even more clear after all this rain we've had because there's no dust interfering with the view. And we can try have a look. Oh, my hand's not long enough. You see that Jean-Andre is playing with me? There we go. Jean-Andre thought that he was very clever there. And there's a moon, not quite full moon yet, but you can see how clear it is. So very little dust in the atmosphere around us due to the rain. So we are going to attempt the impossible. We're going to move forward. And hopefully we don't disappear. And hopefully there are some wild beasties around. So we did have another look for those Nkahuma lions. Are just off the backs. But hopefully, fingers crossed, them and Takana decide to come sit on quarantine because there doesn't seem to be any. But I did promise to try find you a nice lion track, and I know where one is. So, and apologies for the bit of breakup we're experiencing. Hopefully it gets better as we move closer towards camp. I don't know if I should drive faster or slower to stop the signal breakup, although we'll try faster.
Hi. Just swallowing a quick snatched mouthful on my way back towards Arathusa. Just take a quick sip of water. How's that hamburger treating you, Liam?
Very nice.
Liam's having a great time. Seems as though every time I sit in a vehicle, it automatically somehow has better signal than the other one. Not to say that it has brilliant signal. I don't think it has anything to do with me. It just seems to be the way things have been working. How's it? How are you?
Good.
Hi, guys. Cheers. Have a good afternoon. He was already driving away, so I'll ask for an update as soon as Brent is going to emerge. Let's just see if he's back on Djuma yet. Brent. Doesn't seem that way. Haven't heard from him. In that case, we're not going to go straight towards Arathusa. We'll take him. Oh, no, there he is. What's your position? Copy. Where was the sighting on Arathusa?
It was at Old Borehole Crossing. Best access is you just come from Red Dam. We'll actually go on the western side and just head down to the Marikene. It's the first crossing in the Marikene that you drive through if you're driving down the drainage from the east.
Okay, copy that, thanks. Any idea what the standbys are like? And then I'll switch on to Western comms.
I think it might have calmed down by now. I think you might be able to grab a first standby for a second.
Copy that, thank you. Hey, things looking up, everybody. We should be making our way towards that sighting shortly. It is quite far on Arathusa, so it'll take us still a little bit longer to get there.
There's an update from the western section Djuma is in about 10 here, probably about a kilometre and a half to the west of Triple M, around Djuma Arathusa. And then actually Djuma also go into a block near there and then come out. But Tingana's general direction should be moving back towards west tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot, Pete.
Donna, watching in Jackson, California, has not forgotten what I was hoping everybody would forget. Apparently today is International Frog Day. And she was saying that perhaps a frog song would be suitable. So I suppose on our way towards the sighting, Donna, I haven't had a chance to brush up on my lyrics though. And the fact that they're in Swedish makes it even more difficult. I spent a long time with the volunteer, or the two volunteers in question, learning the different pronunciation, and they were reveling. Now, I personally think that Swedish, to me, is one of the most beautiful languages in the world. And I also really, really love the Swedish accent when speaking English. To me, it's so lyrical. It's such a flowing language. They spent ages trying to teach me Swedish pronunciation and saying sounds like ooh and things that were completely beyond my comprehension. Donna, once we get on our way, if I have an opportunity to refresh my mind, I will be able to double check and see if I can. I remember them vaguely, but I could hash this up completely, and I would feel quite terrible if I did that, because there was a time when I could do it. And it was the most wonderful experience that we had. Can't sing it in English. You definitely can't sing it in English. It has to be in Swedish. It doesn't make any sense in English. It does, but it doesn't really rhyme. It's not a song that translates. Oh no, Yvonne's also going to hold me to this promise. All right, give me a second. Once we get off the main road, which will hopefully be soon, I'd prefer not to be on it whilst performing the frog song, then I'll be able to double check exactly the Swedish lyrics, and I will get back to you on the frog song. We had the most amazing experience with that. The place where I used to work, we used to do a big Christmas party for a local orphanage in the area. So we'd get about 50 kids of different ages, from newborns to teenagers, and they would come and join us. We'd take them on game drives, and we had a big lunch all prepared. And right at the end, they would stop and sing us little traditional songs. All of them standing together in these rows singing for us. It was the sweetest thing imaginable. And it was all very seriously done. They took the whole thing very seriously. They wanted to sing for us, and they wanted to say thank you. And we had these two Swedish volunteers, Niklaus, and I can't remember his nephew's name for the life of me. It was about 3 years ago though. And they then sang the frog song to a group of 50 or so odd orphans in the middle of our garden. And we had kids from the local township all jumping up and down singing kuakaka, kuakaka. It was the cutest thing I think I've ever experienced. And that's why that song sticks so vividly in my mind. And can you believe it? Dare we risk it? I'm not even going to try another bite of my hamburger, but Brent does have signal and he's en route to the hyena den. So while I try and get myself into the sighting, why don't you head back over to his side?
Am I here? Am I here? I think I'm here, but hopefully I'm driving very slowly now. Maybe that's the trick. And we've just arrived at the hyena den, and it looks like there is some activity. So, yay! And we have signal. Hello, little one. Here we go. And look at that, the air is still flicking away. After this rain, those flies must be incredibly annoying. There we go, and there's the answer. I will eat you, fly. Stop biting me. Oh, there we go. So after that rain, there would have been a complete explosion of different insects, including the nasty biting flies. As you can see, hyenas, these little hyenas are doing their best to try and bring down their numbers. But I have a feeling the flies might be a little bit too fast. Incoming, Jean-Ray, running up to the others. Oh, there you go. Mom just decided she's off. And barely see her now. She walked off at quite a rate with her head up and ears out. But the little guys are still here, and they just make up another adult lying on the other side. What have you got? A stick or something smelly? I think it's just a stick. And of course, Mom's away, the children are at play. Oh, that's quite aggressive. That's a bit of dominance behavior. And with hyenas, it's shown from a very, very young age. So you saw that little neck shake. And if it does get a little bit violent, you often find that the younger ones will beetle down the hole and try to get into a little crevice where the bigger ones aren't able. And I think that little talking to was for taking his stick or her stick. Truly fascinating things that happen here. There we go. Again, a bit of dominance being shown there. Oh, but fighting back. You might find that these two might possibly be similar ranked, but of different ages. And now that that adult's moved away, the slightly older one is trying to assert a bit of dominance. So they're not really showing any proper submission. A little bit there. Well, the one on the right is showing a bit more submission of the two small ones than the one on the left. Not really, though. Fascinating stuff. So as soon as that adult's moved away, the dynamic at the den has changed. And you can see, now that that adult that was lying quite close by has moved off, all of them have actually moved their games right to the entrance of the den. I won't see as much wandering about when there are no adults. I'm not saying there aren't any. There could be one lying up on the other side. But isn't this beautiful? And this is always one of my favorite times to come to hyena dens. And you've regularly got good activity. There you go. I'll scratch your ear for you. So you notice, here we go, every little stick or branch that's in hyena cub height around a den has been munched on. Now, when you look at these cuties, it's hard to believe that they have such negative connotations in both African and Western culture. Now, yeah, look at that. The spotted hyena, more so than the other two hyena species, specifically because of their habits of eating quite rotting carcasses and feeding off refuse from people. And when people have died in the past out in Africa, hyenas sometimes have taken the blame where people might have died of disease, but the hyenas have been found eating the remains of the people, and they've also got a lot of attachment to black magic. They're said to be witches' pets, and our African witches don't ride broomsticks like European and American witches. Our witches out here ride hyenas. So they don't fly, they cover across the bush on hyenas. But the really, really fascinating thing is, I think because most African cultures would never have really watched hyenas at a den historically, they would have only found them out in the field scavenging. There's only two tribes that I know of in Africa who actually hold hyenas in high regard. And I told you about a while ago when I was at the den about that spotted hyenas actually used to occur all the way through Europe until quite recently. And there's a mammoth ivory carving from France in one of those massive rock caves there that is probably between 12 or 17,000 years ago. And it is getting a bit dark, so we are going to move away from these little guys. But I went and found a picture of it because it is quite incredible. Here we go. So that is about spotted hyena carving from the south of France that's about 12 to 17,000 years old. Isn't that incredible? So they even played a part in European or the developing European cultures, and never held in high esteem as lions and things like that, probably because they don't pose a direct threat to people. Only when you're sleeping or injured or sick. If we were walking through the bush, a hyena is just going to run away from you, even at night. But where there's a lion at night, will try to feed on you. But there's also incredible cave paintings of spotted hyenas that are estimated to be over 30,000 years old in the south of France. So absolutely amazing stuff. Oh, hello. We're going to have one last look. One of the slightly older ones has just arrived. Probably about 8-9 months old, that one. It is getting very dark, and you know we don't hang around with the babies when it's dark, and we don't put lights on them. So we're going to move, and hopefully as we move back we don't lose any signal. I'm hoping that we've now got to a semi-safe zone. Go, we've made it this far. Okay, so the wonderful thing is that you never know what else might pop out while we're here. So we're going to go have a look down towards Gallagher Camp and see what's out and about. There are some wonderful spots for bush babies around there, so maybe we'll get lucky. And if we get no luck there, I think I'm definitely going to make my way towards some of the pans around at the moment and see if we can find some frogs. So you might get lucky enough to see me lose my shoes and go splash around. Hi, Rebecca, who's from Santa Barbara in sunny Cali. Rebecca said she's coming to Botswana and South Africa in a month. Will she still see butterflies? Most definitely. Probably not quite as many species as we see. In Africa, we do have butterfly species that stay out for the whole year. So almost 100% between the two places, you will see the brown-veined white. You should see some of the pansies, some of the grass yellows, and definitely some of the little blues if you're looking for them. So I know Jean-Ray would be quite excited to see me playing in the mud. So we're going to go have a look. I think there might be quite a nice little pan on this road. And I'm hoping to find some frogs we haven't seen as of yet. We might have heard some of them. I think my favorite that we're going to be looking for, and they are quite difficult sometimes to find, is the snoring puddle frog and the dwarf puddle frog. Now, the dwarf puddle frog is not much bigger than my thumbnail. The snoring puddle frog is fortunately quite a bit very cool little frogs, and I'm hoping a little bit thing as it gets a little bit darker, they're going to start calling. So in different areas, you're going to find different frogs. Of course, there's going to be crossover between the same two places, but now this, for example, off to the right here, is a sort of what we would call a flay. It's a little swampy area at the head of little drainage lines, and this is an excellent area during the rain for frogs. And as it gets darker, you'll find certain species that will come out onto this as well. So on the subject of frogs, Ellen in North Dakota is wondering how long does a foam nest frog's eggs stay inside the foam? Now, if I had to give you an answer off the cuff, I'd be lying, so I will double check it for you now when we stop. But if I had to hesitate a guess, and this is a guess, I will get the correct information shortly, I would say no more than probably a week or so, because a lot of those nests are in very shallow pans that can dry up quickly. So you probably find there's quite a quick turnaround on those foam nests. And it wouldn't even surprise me if it's shorter than a week. Did I miss my... No, there it is. Ooh. I saw movement in the water there. Well, we've got a really wonderful question from Katie, who's 11 years old. You can hear a frog as well. Now, the thing about frogs is a lot of them are ventriloquists. Oh, there's a crab. There's a little crab swimming around under the water there. You got him. There he is. You can see how he's feeding off the detritus. So, Katie, let me just answer your question quickly while we watch this crab scuttle about before we go in search of frogs. So Katie would like to know, or says she watches Safari Live whenever she can, and she'd like to know where she can write to us. Katie, you can write to us on the email address questions@wildearth.tv. Oh, look at it go. There we go. So we can hear that wonderful high-pitched sound while we watch this crab scuttle. And that is a frog, and I'm just trying to rack my brain. It's been so long since I've heard nice frogs. Oh, where did he go, Jean-André?
Is that Yana? Just down?
Oh, there he is. He's right there.
He's under that algae.
Under the algae. So let's just do a quick perusal of the edge here, see if we can find any frogs sitting out in the open. So as I said, oh, there's a fishing spider. There we go. So now, if you're a frog, or a baby frog to be precise, a tadpole, this is one of the creatures you got to be aware of. They'll actually dive down and grab small stuff from under the water to eat, and tadpoles are one of their favorites. And some of the really big species have even known to grab fish. Very cool little guy. So let's now keep our check. I'm saving the best to last. See if we can spot that frog. So what else have we got here? See, he's calmed down a bit. He's starting to do the calling. Now, this is the thing, as I said, a lot of frogs are excellent ventriloquists. So the sounds sound like it's coming from around there, but he could be anywhere, even way back up there. Now, the reason frogs do this quite often is to avoid predators, because if you make a lot of noise, you obviously draw some attention to yourself. So that's why quite a lot of frog species are very good ventriloquists. I'm still trying to rack my brain for which frog that was. But okay, I think it's time. I'm going to turn this onto our little pan here. I'm going to go see if I can cause a hop, and that maybe we can get an ID on him. I will try ID his call shortly. I'm just trying to rack my brain a little bit to see what it is. So I'm guessing it's one of the stream frogs, just from the sound of its call. Okay, let's go from this side first. So he was calling around here. Just have a quick, careful look. You can hear a bunch of other frogs starting to call behind. Should have brought my torch. I'm going to see if he hops into the water. I'm going to do a very frog-like movement, which could cause you much joy if I do not do it correctly. I'm going to hop across this little gully. Oh, nearly hit my head. Oh, there we go. So I would have said that if he's not a ventriloquist frog, it would have been right in around here. Jean-André, you let me know if you see a bloop. But I think he is. I actually think that frog's probably sitting a little bit further back from where we are. Calling. And, oh, this is quite thorny here. I'm going to go back across. Oh, that's not a good stable jumping platform. So, we can't find any frogs at this one. We have heard one. I'm going to try and figure out what it is. But we're going to move along to the next little pan, see if we get some luck there. Okay. Well, we try find some amphibians. Let's go have a look what Jamie's up to.
I have some rather sad news, and I'm afraid to say we just missed your surprise. Your surprise was Tingana, and he was on the western edge of Arathusa, and he just walked across as we came onto Arathusa itself. So he moved out of our traverse area, the place that we're allowed to drive. Next time, everybody, he seems to be moving, or there's a good chance that he will be moving back towards in our direction at some point in the next 2 or so days. So we'll definitely have hope for a male leopard sighting at some point. Unfortunately, I just didn't quite get there in time. I didn't realize how close he was to the boundary, and off he popped. That's just one of those things. Animals do what they will, they'll go where they want, and it's up to us to fit in with them. So next time. It also seems as though the Nkuhumas were somewhere on Arathusa as well. Nobody found them, but I know that Brent had tracks going in somewhere close to around the western boundary. So they definitely wandered through there either very early this morning or late last night. And that's just a little bit of an update from my side. I hear you've been seeing all kinds of antics from Brent, who is jumping about in pans, from what I understand, and leaping about, and probably will come back considerably muddier than when he left or set out this afternoon. We have to find a frog first before I think I can be coerced into the song. It is actually a very catchy little tune though. Donna was saying it's the International Frog Day on the 30th of April. Not today, as I originally thought. I was a bit confused, Donna, because I hadn't heard anything about it. Okay, so it's the International Frog Day on the 30th. Okie dokie. But Donna would still like to hear the song anyway. Donna, I feel as though that was a sneaky ploy. A sneaky ploy to hear the song. All right, I will sing the song, and you'll have to please all of the Swedish audience, or in fact anyone with any kind of vague understanding of Sweden. I completely apologize if I mangle your words totally. Essentially, this little froggy song, and for those of you who've only just jumped on the safari now, we were talking about the equinox, the spring equinox, and the fact that it's our autumn equinox, and I was chatting to one of our Swedish viewers, Yvonne from Sweden, and we were chatting about, Yvonne says it doesn't matter if I get it wrong. Yvonne mentioned this, and we got to chatting about the Swedish frog song. So we'll go along with it. It's all very catchy, and you all have to join in at the end because the lyrics are very easy at the end. It goes something like this. Smågrodorna, elaste gatteta. Smågrodorna, elaste gatteta. Eroren. Says something svansa, forgotten the rest of the words. Eroren, svansa, something. That means I've got no tail. And then wait for it, everybody all together. Kuakaka, 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 kuakaka. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my version of the Swedish frog song. That's the bit that sticks in my mind all the time. There is a dance. No, I will not be doing the dance. Don't. We're not even going there. I'm not doing the dance. And that essentially translates. I can't dance. It's dark. It's dark, and a lion might eat me, or something. I don't know, but I can't dance. I'll fall over. Essentially, that means little frog. Wait, let me remind myself. Something about it being very strange. It's got no ears. It's got no tail, and it goes kuakaka, kuakaka, kuakaka. That's pretty self-explanatory. That's sort of what frogs do. Here we go. There you go, Gracie. Gracie, you wanted me to please sing. Well, I have sung for you. I don't think, Gracie, that I got all of the words right, because it's not a language that I speak fluently, but it is one that I absolutely love to listen to.
Now it's stuck in my head.
And now it's stuck in VM's head. All together now. Kuakaka, kuakaka, kuakaka. I think I've lost my mind a little bit. Shall we show you an animal quickly? It's not a frog, unfortunately, although that would have been hugely appropriate. There we go. A little scrub hare. Munching on one of two things. One option, no, he's definitely munching on grass, sorry. The reason I said one of two things, he is definitely eating a blade of grass there. Now, scrub hares, unlike ruminants that chew their food once again, they swallow it into their first stomach and then bring it back up into their mouths, scrub hares do something very different. They actually practice what is known as coprophagy. So they eat their dung. Once they've digested the food and excreted it, they eat it again, which is what gives scrub hare dung droppings, there we go, not dungings, droppings, that very pale colour. It's one of the ways of giving the bacteria some time to start breaking down the plant material before they re-ingest it. Strange little approach, but it's not uncommon with animals out here. A lot of the baby mammals, zebra in particular, spring to mind, and elephants do it as well, practice coprophagy of their mother's dung in order to get some of the antibodies and bacteria that they need within their gut to help them digest. Might sound gross to us, but as human beings, we're a little bit too squeamish when it comes to such things, and rather unnecessarily so. Yes, certainly I wouldn't be eating my own dung, but we definitely can't judge the animals for it. Right, well, you've got a song out of me, which is very unusual. I don't really generally sing in front of anyone. I sometimes sing in the car when I'm on my own, driving long distance, but that's about as far as it goes. However, I wonder how Brent's frog search for an actual frog went. Let's find out.
So the frog hunt continues, and we're stopping. Oh, it's dried up since. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be a frog here. Just check very carefully. So some of the frogs don't actually need that much water. They like to just chill out in the moisture. But unfortunately nothing there. So let's head down towards Djuma pan. Once we get the gremlins sorted, we'll do some proper frogging around Pangolin track and that big Chele pan there. So Jennifer's wondering, do the fishing spiders go down and then under the water and then come back on their silk? Not as far as I know, Jennifer. There is a spider that does that, and I'm trying to remember its name now, but it doesn't occur in Africa, it occurs in South America. And this whole spider lives in one of the carnivorous plants. Oh, Scops owlet, maybe. And lives his whole life in one of those carnivorous plants, and he attaches a braid of silk, and then there we go, it's called a diving spider, and he dives down into that liquid. He actually even takes a little ball of oxygen around his mouth so he can stay down for longer. And what he does is he puts that ball around his mouth, and he goes down on his silk, and he grabs whatever insect has fallen into the flower, the carnivorous flower, and then once he's got that, he goes up and he's got a free meal. But that frog's whole lifespan is that spider's whole lifespan is completely associated with that plant. Very similar, but even more specialized than that little yellow crab spider we saw today. So I'm just going to take a short cut past final control to the Djuma waterhole. Nutty Cook is wondering, are the red river crabs that we get here in the bush edible? I'm sure they are. Actually, they are. They don't taste very nice. I have tried to eat them. They taste very much just like and only like mud. So not a very nice tasting crab, that one. But I have tried to eat them before in my younger days. Oh, sorry, Inyalas. Let's turn that off so you're not there. We're not looking for Inyala, we're looking for frogs. So we're right next to the Djuma pan, but that's not a good spot for frogs. That's actually a decidedly terrible spot for frogs. So we're going to just meander a little bit past it. You might have seen a frog. Oh, that is not there. Is that a stone or is that a toad? You're looking on the wood? You got it. Has Jean-Andre found us a frog? I'll be so excited. No.
Negative.
Negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this. Actually, no, that's a bad idea. There we go. Genre is right on cue there. There we go. There's a bit more light. So we're chatting about foam nest frogs. I think I actually might even see one. Let's go have a quick look over there. So we were... Ooh, I better take my ears off. So we're chatting about foam nest frogs. So now you can see a foam nest frog that is still holding by the looks of things. So there you go. This one completely intact, still holding tadpoles. And these two that have completely broken off. So the tadpoles are already out of this. So let's grab some of it. It's still quite moist on the inside. Just going to see where we can get a... I'm just going to put some light on this, some nice light on it. Just pop it there. I'm going to put the spotlight on it now. We can have a look at it. How's that, Chandra? Yeah. So, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's really soft. So you can see that's the outside layer now that is already broken. You can see the little holes, like in that spot there, where the tadpoles have come through. Let's have a look on the inside. There might be some eggs that didn't hatch. That does happen. But now, even though it is a little bit moist, it's completely dry. I mean, John, have a feel at how soft and fluffy that is. Got it? There we go. Absolutely incredible. So you can start. It's got a very. So compared to this, if I try to tear it, it's got almost a harder, more durable. So if I tried to say, let's picket it, that's better. So if I picket it like this, you can see it actually takes a bit of pulling to come inside it. There's a better piece. This is from right in the inside. You see how soft and fluffy it is and how it almost just breaks up as I grab it. So of course that harder area to protect, and then the soft fluffy bit inside. Obviously dried out because all the bugs are out. All the little tadpoles are out of it already. But there we go, a nice closer look at a foam nest. So there's still another foam nest still birth. Oh, not.
We're just listening very carefully. We apologize for losing Brent once again. Just listening really, really carefully. We thought we heard impala alarm calls, so I'm going to take my earpiece out for a moment, since I am slightly deafer in my left ear than I am in my right. And just listen. All has gone quiet. Might be impala. Over the sound of the engine, it might actually be the impala rutting, making those deep grunting sounds, rather than, excuse me, their alarm calls. Sorry, excuse me. Dust up my nose. They've all gone quiet now. Alrighty, so Kathy in Tennessee would like to know a little bit more about the bird calls at night. She was saying sometimes you guys can't always, or not all of you can hear them that well, or that clearly, when we stop and we talk about them. So Kathy, let me try and stop for you. We've got a really nice view of the moon. So we'll try and stop. We'll see if there's any birds calling. Try and get a bit of light on a tree or something similar. Yeah, we'll go and we'll look at the moon and we'll listen to the bird calls and we'll see if we can hear anything out of the ordinary that I can explain and maybe even whistle to you. I'm just pulling in here, so I'm off the road. Let's stop the car here. Right, Kathy, the first thing I can hear, and I'm going to whisper really quietly so that we can pick up the ambient sounds. Can you hear that? Might be a little bit too faint for you guys to hear. It's the sound of a Scops owl calling. And that's the very gentle call. It's calling up towards Yuri's garden, so it might be better for us to go and cross in that direction and see if we can't hear it from there. And Kathy, as soon as I hear any of the other birds calling, I'll stop and we can listen out for them. Because at the moment, Quarantine Clearings is quite quiet in that respect, surprisingly enough. I'm not hearing any nightjars or pearl-spotted owlets. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Yvonne said that my pronunciation, my Swedish pronunciation, was perfect on the words that I actually managed to remember. Thanks, Yvonne. I apologize. It was a very long time ago that this song was sort of drummed into my head. Obviously, the chorus part is not one that you easily forget, and in fact, both Liam and myself will probably be singing it for the next 5 days, whether we want to or not. And as a result, I think we're going to try and make sure that the rest of the camp is singing it for the next 5 days, whether they want to or not. It's very much now embedded in my head. Hello, Gnu. Haven't seen a wildebeest in these parts for a while, apart from Liam on the back. Liam's nickname, by the way, wildebeest, comes from filming the first live wildebeest birth. Raisa has said to me that they have the same version, or they have the same song in Finland. That, Raisa, I'm very sorry, I've already completely forgotten what it's called. I have been challenged to do the Finnish version. I barely managed the Swedish version, and that was with people helping me many years ago. I'm not sure how I do in terms of the Finnish version. We'll stop once again and see if I can't hear that Scops owl. Beautiful view of the moon, which is almost full. Nope, not quite yet. There we go. Moon almost at full moon. One of my favorite times to be out in the bush is during the full moon night. And that beautiful ray of light around it. absorption by the water molecules. Look at that. Look at those craters that you can see so clearly. That gives rise to the craters on it, that gives rise to the theory about the man on the moon. Looks completely upside down here in the southern hemisphere. Well, the moon's story is so incredibly fascinating, and without the moon, life on Earth would not have existed in the way that it has today. And they theorize that the moon was caused by a giant meteorite impact, or a collision, not a meteorite, but two heavenly bodies colliding, the Earth and one other, which sheared off a portion of the Earth and sent it spinning off into space. Now, it also provided for the tilt. That collision provided the tilt, that 23-degree angle that the Earth sits at, which ultimately provides us with winter and summer seasons. So the way of life that we understand now. And from there, at the 23-degree tilt, the scientists are saying if the moon had not stopped where it is and was not exerting a force of gravity on the moon, on the Earth, in the same way the Earth is exerting on the moon, the Earth would actually have spun wildly out of control in the way that it moves. Sorry, a bug just flew down onto my microphone. But the Earth would be wildly spinning as it orbits the Earth, rather than the smooth spin and rotation, controlled rotation that we have at this perfect angle. Then, of course, you've got its control of the tides and the way in which it impacts the movements of bodies of water. We don't realize just how important that moon really is. It's a truly incredible aspect of our life out here, and one that maybe we take for granted without really realizing just how essential it really is. Well, we've come to the end of our sunset safari. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. We didn't get to see Tingana today, but tomorrow is a new day and we'll bring all kinds of new surprises along with it. Can't have our way every day, all the time. I hope you have enjoyed it. Big thank you to Wiem for his support and company, as well as enjoying his brief picnic with me before we were back presenting once again. And a big thank you to all of you, the viewers, for joining us and sending through your questions and your comments. Never mind, I'm saying goodbye to you all. And I can see Brent, but he was going to say goodbye, but he's not going to. So I will cancel my goodbye, which I think has been par for the course over the last few days, and we will continue looking at the moon. And actually the planet. Let's go look at the planet. Let's give us something else to look at. There is Jupiter, the one planet that's currently visible at the moment. And I'm going to say goodbye to you once again, because it seems as though Brent does have signal. We'll keep fingers crossed. I'll just stay here in case that doesn't stay like that. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you for the sunrise safari tomorrow.
Sorry, I do apologize, guys. It's been as frustrating for you as it has for us, for Chandra and myself. As you can see, there's Jamie right there, and she's got signal, and we had to stop the car to get signal, and we're no more than 50 meters from her, but I do guarantee our tech geniuses are on it, and sometimes maybe there's a funny, as Brian would say, alien in the sky that's causing these, and hopefully we can find him and zap him shortly. But it has been wonderful. Unfortunately, we did find Tingana. I'm very sad we couldn't show him to you guys, but hopefully his general direction from where he is going to be moving on to Djuma, and staying on quarantine would be the best for everyone tomorrow. And also, there's a very good chance those Nkuhuma ladies are going to be back tomorrow as well. So don't miss the sunrise safari. Lots and lots to be seen, and hopefully we'll have stable signal by then. So I'm going to try look around to see if there's anything about quickly. Just going to wait for Jean-Andre, and then we're going to pan together so you can see what we see when we're looking in the spotlight. So what we're actually looking for is the reflection of an animal's eye, and I was hoping there might be an impala or something just in the distance so we might be able to show you what it looks like, but alas, there's a termite mound and a tree. Nice little jackalberry. You can see the reddish leaves of a very young one there. And so nothing else about it, so we'll just pop it off. Catherine would like to know, what is the difference between a frog and a toad? Now that is actually a very good question, Catherine. So a toad is a frog, if you want to get very technical. So frog is the order, and a toad is just a different type of frog, like a bushveld rain frog, like a tree frog. So a toad is just a different type of frog. What separates the toads apart, not all toads, but a lot of toads, especially the old world European toads, and some of our toads we get here, I'll see if I can find a picture of it so it's much easier to describe, is that they have a big gland on the back of their head called a bufo gland, and that has bufotoxins in it, and that causes, that is slightly noxious, and it stops. There we go. It's not a toad we get here, but I know we're nearly over, so I just thought we'd go there. There you go. That is the bufo gland. Very, very, very pronounced in this Amatola toad. But there we go. So there's no difference between, or there is a difference between frogs and toads, but toads at the end of the day are frogs. So again, hopefully we'll be up and running at full steam tomorrow morning on the sunrise safari. Otherwise, we shall be looking at lots of flowers on quarantine, which I know everyone enjoys as well. And don't forget to join us. Hopefully there'll be cats, but if there aren't, they're birds, bugs, and everything else. Have a wonderful evening or day wherever you are in the rest of the world.